Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome back. We are continuing our deep dive into how your human design authority type works through the lens of your astrological natal moon placement. Now, if you do not know what your natal moon placement is, you can go to astro.com or astroseek.com and grab that information. If you have been listening, you know that we have covered emotional authority, that wave based decision making process, in the first episode. And in the second episode of this series, we explored the sacral authority and that immediate gut response. Today, in part 3, we are talking about splenic authority. And this one I feel like is probably the most subtle and most understood of all the authorities. It's quiet, it's instantaneous, and it only speaks once. If you miss it, it's gone. Now, when I say it's gone, think of it like this. Splenic authority is not just a one-shot cosmic test where you blew it and now you're doomed. It's more like the spleen is about survival and health and right-timed awareness, not necessarily perfection. So if you miss a splenic hit, nothing bad happens by default. Life doesn't close forever. But what does happen is the specific moment has passed, the context changes, and the spleen moves on to the next signal. The spleen lives in the now. It doesn't chase you down afterwards. The challenge with splenic authority is it's on a wave that you can walk through. It's on a gut response that you can ask yes or no questions to necessarily. It's more like a whisper, a fleeting moment of knowing that comes and goes. And if your mind is loud, if you're disconnected from your body, if you're caught up in fear, you're going to miss it completely. And when a splenic whisper comes and goes, you might feel that subtle contraction or discomfort later, and then the mind kicks in. And the spleen never repeats itself exactly in the same way, but it's going to continue to guide you forward. And this is where your moon sign becomes really crucial, because your moon influences how you present yourself within your body, like how much noise is in your system, and it helps you access that split second intuitive hit before it disappears. So today we're going to go through all 12 moon signs to help you understand how your splenic authority actually communicates with you. So let's get into it. So let's revisit what splenic authority is. This shows up with people that do not have solar plexus or sacral defined as authority. Now, I've mostly seen this in manifestors and projectors, which is roughly probably about, I think, 10% of the population. If you've got splenic authority, your spleen center is your decision-making compass, and it speaks through intuitive body awareness in the present moment. Now, the key principle here is your spleen, like I said, speaks once in that moment and doesn't repeat itself. It's going on to that next signal. There's a subtle, spontaneous body wisdom that's a quiet yes or no, a sense of safety or danger that arises instantaneously. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, and it really doesn't wait for you to catch up. So your splenic authority communicates through really subtle body sensations that can be really easy to miss. It's a feeling of this is right or this is wrong, and you can't explain logically sometimes, most of the time actually. And some people describe it as like a quiet inner voice or sudden clarity or an instinctive, like slight pull towards or away from something, and it's designed to guide you towards what's correct for you in real time. Now, the challenge with this particular authority type is it's so subtle and so fast that sometimes it's easy to miss entirely, especially if you're living in your head, caught up in fear, again, or not present in your body. So this is where your moon sign can be incredibly helpful. It can be essential, actually, because your moon influences how you connect you to your body, how much mental or emotional noise drowns out that quiet voice, and where conditions help you stay present enough to hear your spleen and when it speaks. So before we dive into the moon signs, let's talk about what the moon represents in your natal chart. So your moon represents your emotional body, your instinctive reactions, your needs for safety or comfort, and how you process feelings and stress. Now you might be thinking, I've got splenic authority, not emotional authority. Why does my moon matter? Because your moon creates the internal environment in which your splenic authority either gets heard clearly or gets drowned out. Your moon influences how present you are in your body versus how caught up you are in your head, and how much fear or emotional noise is running through the system, and what helps you access that state of relaxed awareness where the intuitive hits can land. Splenic authority, like I said, it's instantaneous and subtle. It requires presence, it requires body awareness, and a quiet enough internal space to catch that fleeting whisper. So your moon sign tells you what supports that presence and what disrupts it. And it shows you what emotional patterns might cause you to override your spleen and what conditions might help you stay tuned in more. So understanding your moon sign helps you answer the questions like, what keeps me present enough to hear my spleen? What emotional states cause me to miss or ignore my intuition? How do I create the right internal conditions to catch that split second knowing before it's gone? So let's go through each moon sign and see how it shapes your relationship with your splenic authority. Now we're going to start with Aries. If you have this placement, you have two very fast forces working together. Splenic hits instantly, Aries moon wants to move instantly. And this can actually be very powerful when aligned. The challenge is when your Aries moon is loud and impulsive and reactive, that can drown out the quiet splenic whisper before it even registers that it's happened. What helps you hear your spleen clearly is immediate action in the present moment. Your Aries moon is naturally present and reactive, and which can actually catch the splenic hits as they happen, but only if you're tuned in. When you're moving through life engaged and alert and not rushing unconsciously, your spleen speaks and your Aries instinct can act on it like really, really quickly, instantly, in fact. What blocks your spleen is impulsive reaction overriding the subtle, like the subtle knowing. Your Aries moon fires off reactions so fast and loud that the quiet splenic whisper gets completely buried. And you may have a subtle no, but your Aries moon is like, yeah, let's go, before you even notice your body's wisdom. And that impulse is louder than the intuition. And your splenic yes can feel like an instant, sharp, clear hit. Your splenic yes with Aries moon is fast. It's a very yes, now this. And it's not, I feel like, based on the people that I've talked to, it comes with an immediate readiness in your body, but it's like a quiet underneath that Aries fire, a moment of knowing that happens before the emotional surge of it, not because of it. And what your splenic no feels like is almost like an instantaneous recoil or flatness. Your spleen says no, and immediate withdrawal. Your body pulls back or it goes flat in a split second. But your Aries moon might override it with like aggression or like, I'm just going to push through this type of energy, making you miss that knowing that's already happened. Now, practical tips is to work to catch the micro moment before the reaction. Your Aries moon explodes into action, but your spleen needs that split second before that. Train yourself to notice the instant knowing of what comes before the emotional fire ignites. Let speed work for you, not against you. So splenic is fast and Aries is fast, but when you're present, you can catch and act on splenic hits instantly, but you have to be tuned into your body, not your emotional reactions. Now notice when you've been already moved past the whisper. If you act impulsively and later feel like that wasn't right, your spleen probably spoke and you missed it. And honestly, this is probably the best training I feel like with Splenic Authority is some reflection practices. It's learning how to recognize the feeling of being, or just by blowing past your intuition. And so when you make a great decision and you go, gosh, I just knew that was right for me, reflect on that and pull yourself back into that moment of what did that feel like in your body. So the next one is Taurus Moon. If you have this placement, your Taurus Moon is deeply embodied. It's actually perfect for hearing like the subtle body wisdom and tuning into it. It expects a little bit more time to process, and your spleen doesn't really give you time. That's the trade-off with having the Taurus Moon. The whisper comes once, and instantaneously your Taurus Moon is still like settling in to try to feel it all when it's already gone. And what helps you hear your spleen clearly is groundedness. Taurus Moon's natural embodiment is ideal for splenic authority when you're relaxed and when you're present. You catch those splenic whispers through really subtle body sensations. Like you may get a goosebump. You may feel a tickle. You could feel like maybe a whisper of heart opening. A quiet knowing that registers physically before it does mentally. And being grounded and calm creates a space for that whisper to land. Now, what blocks your spleen is expecting processing time that doesn't exist. Your Taurus Moon wants to sit with things, feel into them over time, and mull over them. And Splenic Authority speaks once in the moment and then moves on. And again, it's not going to stop guiding you, but the context will change, and therefore the moment has passed, and then it may take a while for another moment to actually show up. So by the time you're ready to feel into it, the intuitive hit is gone, and you're left with more mental evaluation instead. What your splenic yes feels like is a quiet, grounded body knowing. The splenic yes is with Taurus is this gentle sense of rightness that lands in your body. It's a softening. It's a quiet yes. It's not dramatic. It's just there and then it's gone. It's like and then it's gone. The no is like instant physical resistance. Your spleen says no with instantaneous body tense up or withdrawal, and it happens really fast. And it might not register until you're trying to figure out, like, why do I feel so uncomfortable about this? And the knowing is already passed, but you're sort of feeling that after effect. And so practical tips are stay present in the moment of the decision. Your Taurus Moon wants you to take time to decide, but again, Splenic Authority speaks in the now. The whisper comes when the opportunity is right in front of you. If you defer the decision, you've already missed your guidance. Now, number 2 is to trust that first hit. Your spleen really, it's all about that sensation that you first get, that you naturally attune into. And don't try to feel it out over time. That first flash is that intuitive hit. And number 3, don't confuse I need more time with not having guidance. When you feel like you need more time, it often means that you've missed the whisper and now you're trying to figure it out mentally. I find that especially with Taurus moons, just taking a walk around the block, getting outside, breathing a few minutes of fresh air can reset, and then you'll start getting more context, and then the hits will come again. Splenic, if with Gemini placement, the Gemini moon automatically generates 10 thoughts, 3 perspectives, a mental debate that completely drowns out the intuitive hit. By the time that you finish analyzing, the whisper is long gone and you're left trying to think your way through to an answer that your body already gave you. So what helps you is present moment spontaneity, if you will. It's sort of a paradox of Gemini moons because you catch those hits when your your mind is like lightly occupied with something else, like in conversation, doing something with your hands, moving through your environment. When your mental energy is sort of diffused, where that whisper can slip up through now, like before analysis kicks in. So, what blocks you is mental noise and overanalysis. Gemini Moon's constant mental chatter creates so much noise that the splenic whisperer can't be heard, like at all. Even if you catch yourself for a second, though, you immediately start questioning and talking yourself out of it, if you will, and the moment passes. So, what a yes can feel like is like a quick, bright flash of knowing. You could be talking to someone and some decision point could come up, and you're still sort of like talking, and all of a sudden it's like, "Ooh," that that type of, oh, okay, there's that flash. It's instant clarity. It's a split second of, oh, yes, obviously, before your mind starts generating reasons, justification on either side, yes or no. Um, you got to catch it in that first moment before the mental commentary starts. And the no can feel like much more like scattered energy. Experiences a sudden inability to think clearly about the option. Your thoughts won't land, you feel confused or scattered. That sometimes that confusion is the no, but you try to think your way through it instead of recognizing the whisper has already spoke. And some practical tips are catch the flash, ignore the commentary. That instant of knowing. Then your Gemini moon will start talking about that knowing. Everything after the first flash can be mental noise, not necessarily intuition. Number 2, act on like experiment. All of this is experiment because it's human design, but act on some spontaneous hits without the analysis and see what comes up, right? Just play with it. Number 3, notice where you've outthought your intuition. If you mentally spinning and you can't get clear, you probably have already received a whisper and you've missed it. So stop analyzing and pay attention, like drop into your body and go, okay, what do you got for me? And see what comes up. Is there any quiet knowing underneath the mental noise? And then moving on to Cancer Moon, if you've got this particular placement, your intuitive capacity is very powerful because like anybody with a Cancer moon's emotional sensitivity can actually amp splenic hits into almost like psychic level knowing. But the challenge is that your Cancer moon's fear, emotional reactivity, and the ability to absorb energy creates so much noise that the quiet whisper can get drowned out and dismissed as anxiety a lot, actually. So, what helps you hear your spleen clearly is emotional calm, energetic clearing. So, your Cancer moon must feel safe and have cleared the emotional energy around you to hear your own spleen. When you're emotionally settled and alone, a lot of the times, because you're not managing other people's feelings, the whisper can come through clearly, and your Cancer moon sensitivity can feel it as body knowing, not just thought. And what blocks your spleen is fear, emotional overwhelm. With Cancer moon's fear, it creates this emotional static that sort of obscures the whisper. You might hear your spleen say leave or no, but your fear of being alone or rejected or vulnerable just sort of drowns it out, or you confuse fear from others with your own splenic warning. Like you'll absorb the fear from others, and that will confuse you as well. So a yes can feel like a softness in the body, feeling safe. A splenic yes can feel, with Cancer moon, can feel protective or nurturing of you. Yes, this is safe for me. This feels right. It's gentle but certain. And it comes with a sense of your body sort of relaxing and not tensing. Your heart and your belly feel aligned quietly. A splenic no can feel like instant protective contraction. Your spleen says no. There's an immediate body withdrawal, pulling back, closing off, feeling unsafe, but it happens so fast. Then your Cancer moon, the fear kicks off, and it creates so much emotional noise that you can't tell if it's an intuitive warning or just anxiety. So some practical tips are: you need to learn to distinguish between fear from warning. And your Cancer moon can feel a lot of fear that's not necessarily your spleen or not necessarily yours. Splenic warnings are quiet and they're instant and then they're gone. Fear is loud and it's ongoing. So if it's still spiraling minutes later, that's emotional, not splenic. And then number 2, clear absorbed energy first. Before trusting any intuitive hit, asked if is this mine? Did I pick this up somewhere else? Your Cancer moon does pick up a lot of everyone else's anxiety, and your spleen only talks about you, not them. And number 3, trust the first body hit before the emotions activate. Your spleen whispers first, and then it goes. And then your Cancer moon has the emotional reactions about it. Catch the whisper before the feelings take over. Now, I will say that if you're really wrestling with something, getting in water will help. Getting around water will probably help because Cancer is a water sign. And then next up is Leo moon. If you have Splenic Authority with Leo moon, you are dealing with a fundamental mismatch of sorts, because Leo moon wants dramatic and clear and confident knowing, and Splenic is quiet and subtle and fleeting. And so you may dismiss genuine Splenic whispers as not important enough or too small to trust, waiting for something that feels more worthy of your Leo moon's need for certainty. But what helps you hear your spleen clearly is humility and private authenticity. Your Leo moon must drop the need for impressive, confident knowing and be willing to trust something really quiet and unexplainable. And you hear your spleen when you're alone, not performing, not when you're out there for the masses. It's when you give yourself permission to act on whispers that don't feel necessarily grand or certain enough. And what blocks your spleen is the need for the dramatic. Your Leo moon wants to declare your knowing confidently, but splenic whispers don't give you that. So you wait for more information or stronger clarity that never comes, missing the subtle guidance that's already happened. You may override quiet hits because they don't feel important enough. Now, what your yes feels like is that quiet, authentic voice, knowing beneath the noise. It's that little whisper that's not necessarily loud or confident. It's that flash of, yes, this is true for me, that happens before the Leo moon can capture it and want to put it on stage. It's like there's a rawness to it that's really authentic and real, and it doesn't necessarily feel impressive all the time. It could, but that might be why you miss it. So your no could feel like almost like a subtle disinterest or deflation. And the spleen says no, maybe as an instantaneous loss of energy or a lack of interest, but it's not dramatic. It's just flat. No real pull. And your Leo moon might try to manufacture enthusiasm or confidence anyway, depending on what the decision is about. But that won't work over time. So some practical tips are: trust the small, quiet hits. Your spleen doesn't speak in dramatic declarations, it whispers, and just because something doesn't feel super big or important doesn't mean that it's not your intuitive guidance. Let yourself act on subtle knowing. Number 2, stop waiting for confidence before acting. Leo moons like to feel really certain, and none of these authority types, but especially the splenic one, is not going to give you 100% or 90%. You're probably going to get like 70, right? The whisper comes, you act, the confidence comes after it's been correct, not before. And sometimes you're going to get it wrong, especially as you're experimenting with this, and that's okay. And third, drop the performance to hear the truth. Your spleen can only speak when you're not putting on a show. Get quiet, get real, and notice what the quiet knowing that's actually there underneath all that Leo armor is trying to tell you. So let's move on to Virgo. Virgos, you want precision, perfection, logic to intuitive hits. And splenic whispers are imperfect and they're fleeting and they often make zero logical sense. So you might hear your spleen and immediately dismiss it as that's not clear enough, not reliable enough. I need more data. And what helps you hear your spleen clearly is, again, body awareness and the acceptance of imperfection. Virgo moon is actually attuned to the physical body sensation, which is great for splenic authority, but you got to accept that the whisper is not going to be perfect. It's not going to be neatly organized. It's not going to be you going, I need to hear this particular way. That is not going to work for you, Virgos. What blocks your spleen is self-doubt and perfectionism, self-criticism. Virgo moons immediately critique any intuitive hit. Was that real? Is that enough? Did I hear it right? You analyze the whisper instead of trusting it. And by the time that you've evaluated whether it's valid or not, it's gone and you're left with mental evaluation and sometimes confusion instead of intuition. I feel like with Virgo moons, it would be a very specific type of body knowing. A very quiet sense of, yes, this is correct, that lands with an elegance and simplicity. It's not dramatic, it's just certain, and it happens fast. And if you question if you heard it right, you might have already missed it. So the no is going to feel like instant body discomfort or analytical resistance. Like even your mind will be like, and your spleen saying no as an immediate subtle tension or unease in the body could feel like something is off, even if you can't explain why. And that's where, if you start trying to explain why, that's when it has already left the building. So when you get to the analyzing the discomfort instead of trusting, that's where the rub is. So some practical tips are stop evaluating whether you heard it correctly or not. Sometimes you're going to get it wrong, and that's okay. Your Virgo moon will obsess over your splenic hit was real or accurate, and that's where when you're doing this experiment, you have to let some of that go. The whisper doesn't repeat itself, so you can verify it. You've got to trust the body first in the response that it had and act. And then 2, let imperfect intuition be enough. It's not going to give you perfect, organized, logical guidance. Again, you're going to be wrong. Sometimes you're going to be right. As you practice with this more and more, you're going to learn what works for your specific body, and you'll trust it more. Trust the body sensations over the mental analysis. And notice the tightness and the ease and the temperature shifts. And these are far more reliable than you trying to mentally evaluate whether you heard something. Next up is Libra moon. If you've got this particular placement, your spleen whispers, but sometimes Libra moons are busy considering everyone else's perspectives, needs, and reactions so that you completely miss the whisper. So by the time you've mentally pulled everyone and weighed all the sides, the intuitive hit is long gone. You're left trying to make a fair decision without any body guidance. Now, what helps you hear your spleen clearly is solitude, very present moment focus. Your Libra moon must be alone to focus on the now, to hear your spleen. And when I say alone, that could be, you could need physical space, alone time. But the idea is that you're not in relationship mode. You're not weighing perspectives. You're just present with yourself in the moment so the whisper can land. But you got to catch it instantly and not defer to, let me just go talk to someone else about this first. So, what blocks your spleen is external focus and indecision. Your Libra moon is so in tune to everyone else that you're not present in your own body when your spleen speaks. And that's whispers happen when you think about, what will other people think? And what's fair and what maintains harmony? And you'll miss it completely. And trying to decide without guidance, that's where you get into this tension. So when your splenic yes comes through, it can feel like there's like this quiet internal harmony and rightness. It's this sense of internal balance and ease, not just external peace. And it happens in the instant that you start considering the decision at hand. Your body says, yes, this is right for me, but before your mind asks, but what about them? And your no can feel like almost like a subtle discord. It's this immediate internal imbalance. Something feels off in your system, but it's so fast and so quiet. By the time you start weighing it, or whether it's fair or how others react, the whisper's gone, and now you could be just confused, or you could be trying to force the harmony. So, practical tips here are: number one, be present in your body when decisions arrive. Your Libra moon almost always wants to go external first. What do others think? What's fair? Your spleen speaks to you in the moment that the opportunity appears. So catch that before you look outside of yourself. 2, stop deferring decisions to consider others first. And once you've made the decision, then do the consulting everyone else. And number 3, notice when you've outbalanced your intuition. If you're mentally going back and forth, weighing sides, your spleen has already spoke and you messed it. But the whisper doesn't debate. It just knows. So stop weighing and check, hey, was there a body hit at the beginning of this that I just looked over? And then next is Splenic Authority with Scorpio Moon. Now, if you've got this placement, your intuitive capacity is extremely high. Scorpio Moon's depth and intensity can amplify splenic whispers down to the soul level. However, Scorpio moons, they may have a little trust issues, a little need for control, a little emotional intensity. So that can create a lot of noise that you can miss that quiet whisper entirely or dismiss it as not enough information to trust. So what helps you hear your spleen clearly is, you guessed it, surrender and trust. Your Scorpio moon must drop the control, stop the interrogating, allow the intuitive hits to come without trying to test them all the time. When you're present, when you're vulnerable, when you're not manipulating outcomes, your spleen speaks with incredible power. Your Scorpio radar probably feels it like unshakable body truth. And what blocks your spleen is that distrust, that over intensity. Scorpio moons don't trust anything easily, including their own body. You hear a splenic whisper and immediately want to test it, to question it, demand more proof. That whisper's not going to repeat itself. Your emotional intensity also drowns out subtle guidance. So you confuse loud with intuition when the real splenic hits are really quiet. And when you have a yes, it's instantaneous. It's magnetic. It's like soul deep knowing. Your splenic yes with the Scorpio moon is extremely powerful. It's that flash of yes. Yes, this is mine. This is meant for me. You can feel it at a cellular level. But it's quiet. It's quiet. It's quiet and unshakable. Your body knows before your mind can even process it. And the splenic no can feel like a visceral rejection, a repulsion, a closing off, the whole system saying, nope, danger, Will Robinson, not this, in like a split second, but it's so fast. Then your Scorpio moon's intensity takes over with suspicion and analysis and emotion. So sometimes you can't tell if the original hit was real or if you were just being perhaps paranoid. So some practical tips are stop interrogating your whispers. Once it speaks, don't try to negotiate. Trust that first hit of knowing and stop trying to extract more information. Go with the hit, then you'll get another, and then you'll get another. Distinguish intensity from intuition. This is a really big one. You've got to learn how to untangle the loud, spiraling feelings from the quiet, instantaneous hits that are have a lot of depth, but they're not like loud and spiraling. If it's building and intensifying, that is emotion. That's not your spleen. So, number 3, let yourself trust without proof. Your Scorpio moon wants to control by knowing everything before committing. But splenic authority requires trusting when you can't see or prove. And that's one of the hardest things for Scorpio moon to hear. But it's also like the path to liberation. So let's go with the Sagittarius moon. The Sag moon speaks in this moment about this decision right now. And your Sag moon is always like 3 steps ahead, exploring future possibilities and planning the next adventure. Anybody with any Sag placements like rising or sun or moon, they are very adventurous folks. And because they're not here in the now, you're already mentally gone. So what helps you hear your spleen clearly is present moment awareness while moving. Sag moons actually access their intuition through movement and exploration, but you have to catch the whisper as it happens, not while you're thinking about what's next. When you're spontaneously engaged with what's like right in front of you, your spleen can speak and you can hear it. So what blocks your spleen is mental restlessness and future focus. Like if you're super bored, but also if you're like super fantasy tripping. Sag moon is mentally planning, exploring possibilities, considering what could happen. And your spleen is like, hey, what about now? What about now? The whisper comes and you're not present and it's gone before you notice the opportunity for guidance existed. So what a yes can feel like with the Sag moon is like an instant flash of truth and freedom. It's an immediate knowing and it feels free. Yes, this right now. It really is accompanied by a sense of freedom and a wee bit of an adventure. And it happens in the moment of the encounter, not in future planning. It's fast and true. And the no can feel like a loss of interest, trapped. Anytime a Sag feels trapped, that's a sign. Immediate flatness, a sense of constriction, but it happens really fast. And your Sag moon is already mentally moving on to the next thing. So you can miss that part. So some practical tips are be here, not ahead. Sag moons are always looking to the horizon, but your spleen speaks about what is in front of you right now. Practice bringing your awareness to the present moment. This decision before your mind jumps to the future scenarios. Number 2, catch the whisper during, not after. Your splenic guidance comes in the moment of the encounters. So when someone asks you something, when an opportunity appears, it doesn't come when you're thinking about it later. Be present when it matters. Now, you could have that thought in the moment, say, yeah, this sounds cool, and maybe you choose not to engage with it at that time. Maybe you don't let the person know, etc. But you've already gotten that hit. Stop planning and start responding. Sag moons want to think through all possibilities. Splenic authority is spontaneous. The whisper comes and that is what it is. And you can move on it immediately if you choose to and discover where it leads. But you can't pre-plan intuition. And let's move on to Capricorn Moon. If you've got this placement, then your spleen gives you an instant body wisdom, but your Capricorn Moon is demanding proof, logic, and a little bit of strategic planning before acting. So you can dismiss splenic whispers as there's not enough data. This is too risky to trust before and start waiting for that certainty that never comes because your spleen has already spoken and moving on. So what helps you hear your spleen clearly is body presence, permission to trust without proof. That's probably the biggest thing, is to trust without the proof. Capricorn moons are naturally grounded and they can access body wisdom, but you got to be willing to act on the subtle fleeting hits that don't come with logical justification. When you're present in your body and not in strategic planning mode, the whisper can land. What blocks your spleen is the need for certainty and the fear of being foolish. Cap moons do not like to look foolish, and your cap moon won't act on intuitive whispers because sometimes they feel impulsive or irresponsible or insufficiently researched. And you hear your spleen say yes now and immediately override it, but that's not smart, or I need more information, or that doesn't seem responsible. And your splenic yes actually can feel like a really quiet, solid body knowing too, and probably feels very grounded. An instant sense of yes, this is correct. It lands in your bones, but it's not necessarily logical or strategic. It just is, but it happens fast. And if you wait for proof for trusting it, it's already gone. Now, your no can feel like physically like a weight or a shutdown. The immediate heaviness or sense of something's wrong, but it's so subtle and so fast that the cap moon doesn't register it maybe as valid and tries to push through it anyway, or analyze that the feeling, was that even real? So some practical tips here are: act first, strategize later. Your cap moon wants to plan before moving, but splenic authority is instant and it doesn't give you time to strategize all the time. Trust the whisper first and then figure out the logistics. The guidance comes before the plan. Number 2, stop requiring proof before trusting. Your spleen doesn't give you evidence or logical reasons. It gives you fleeting body knowledge. And you got to trust it without proof, which can terrify Cap Moon, but that's how this authority works. And number 3, notice when you've outthought your intuition. If you're strategically analyzing a decision, your spleen is probably already, it's already probably spoken when the opportunity first appeared and that you missed it. Stop thinking and check, hey, was there a body hit at the beginning of this? And then let's move on to Aquarius moons. If you've got this placement, I feel like Aquarius moons like to detach from their body a little bit more and observe everything from a mental distance. And when you're detached from physical sensation, that subtle splenic whisper can't even register. You're watching your life from the outside instead of being in where the intuition speaks. And what helps you hear your spleen clearly is, of course, embodiment and dropping into the now. The Aquarius moon must consciously reconnect with the physical body and be in the present moment to hear splenic whispers. And when you stop observing and analyzing and actually inhabit your body, the guidance can come through. But it requires you to be vulnerable and participatory, not detached. And what blocks your spleen is that detachment, mental observation. Aquarius moons live in the head a lot of the time, and this is a reminder that the spleen can only speak through body wisdom. You can't intellectualize, rationalize, and observe intuitive hits from a distance instead of feeling them. So when the whispers happen, you can completely miss them. So a splenic yes for Aquarius moon could feel like electric, like a full body tingle, flash of knowing, instant body clarity, buzz of yes, this is true for me. It's authentically aligned. It's not emotional or logic. It's just known, but you got to be in your body to feel it. And a no can feel like instant disconnection or flatness, immediate disinterest, like you can't even engage with that option. And your Aquarian moon is already so detached that it may not even, it's like, what just happened? What just happened? So, some practical tips are get into your body before the decision when we're talking about major decisions. Do something physical, do some breathing exercise, feel your feet on the ground, to do drop into embodiment before opportunities for the decision making process to arrive. I know that that's not always possible, but when we're talking about like major decision points that you're really looking for guidance from, those types of activities would probably be helpful. Number two, stop observing your intuition from the outside. Your Aquarius moon would like to study the splenic hits like a phenomenon. I hear the X-Files theme song in my head when I was thinking about this. You can't analyze your way to intuition. You have to feel it. You got to trust it and act on it. You got to be a participant. You can't be an observer. And number three, let yourself be irrational. Intuition is not logical. Splenic whispers often don't make a lot of sense. They're body wisdom that bypasses logic entirely. You got to trust the illogical hits, and that's your guidance. And then finally, the Splenic Authority with Pisces Moon. If you've got this placement, your intuitive capacity is, well, it's extraordinary because Pisces Moon's sensitivity can amplify the splenic whispers into very powerful knowing. But the challenge is to know what is yours and what is someone else's, because Pisces moons are very porous, and sometimes you can't tell if the whisper you're hearing is your splenic guidance or someone else's, something that you've absorbed. So you're swimming in everyone else's subtle knowing and not just your own. And what helps you hear your spleen clearly is energetic boundaries and solitude, and cleared the absorbed energy so you can hear your spleen specifically. It's very similar to, in that regard, to Cancer moons. When you're energetically clean and grounded in your own body, not merged with somebody else's, your splenic whispers come through with really, really significant clarity. And your Pisces sensitivity can feel them very, very deeply. What blocks your spleen is that porousness, the lack of boundaries, confusion, the absorbing everything around you, other people's feelings, intuition, thoughts, fears, etc. So even when you feel a subtle knowing, you generally don't know if it's yours or someone else's, and you might also override that because sometimes that requires boundaries, and your Pisces moon doesn't necessarily love the boundary life. So the splenic yes can feel like gentle, flowing, soul-aligned knowing. And splenic yeses with Pisces can feel almost mystical yet grounded. Yes, this will serve me. This serves my soul and my body. And it's soft, but it's certain. And it comes from a sense of like a real deep alignment. But it happens in an instant, not over time. So the no can feel like almost like an instant energetic drain or like an energetic fog. Your spleen says no, and it's like immediately you feel the depletion, like the options would just sort of like suck the life out of you. The vitality is gone. And again, so subtle, and your Pisces moon creates so much emotional and energetic noise that sometimes you can't tell if that's an intuitive warning or if it's just like general overwhelm. So some practical tips is clear your energetic field. Is this mine? Your Pisces moon picks up a lot of other people's stuff. Number 2, grounded knowing in your body. You get really clear. If you can get really clear on being able to distinguish what's yours and what's not yours in your body, that is very helpful. You got to bring it down to a physical sensation. Where do you feel it in your body? How do you know that's yours? And then number 3, trust instant hits, not lingering feelings. Splenic whispers are instant and they're fleeting. If something's building, if something's spiraling, if something's hanging around, that's Pisces emotional absorption. That's not your intuitive hit from your spleen. Real splenic guidance happens in a flash and it moves on. There you have it, Splenic Authority through all 12 of the moon signs. If you have Splenic Authority, I hope this helps you understand it in a different way to experiment with this and working with your specific moon sign and how that ability can help you catch that fleeting whisper, trust it when it comes, and act on it before it's gone. And remember, like I said, your spleen speaks once in the moment, and the more present you are in your body, the more clearly you will hear it. Now, one of the things that I was thinking about with this particular thing, I have a defined spleen, but I have emotional authority. So I do get those whispers on occasion. I also have defined sacral as well. So I actually get the gut hit on occasion. And this is one piece of a very large, complex system, right? This is not the only way people get intuitive guidance. I'm just speaking to this from this angle of human design authority through your natal moon sign. So much else goes into looking at a chart, both an astrological chart and a human design chart. There's so much nuance in these systems that I always tell people to take what resonates and leave the rest. And I feel like with Splenic Authority in particular, that guidance needs to be taken to heart. So this month, with all the Uranus energy pushing us to reclaim our authority and trust our inner knowing, this is an invitation for you to stay present, to get out of your head and into your body, to honor these subtle intuitive hits when they sometimes don't make logical sense. It's a great month for experimenting with your human design. Your spleen is trying to give you the best guidance it can. So let's let it do its job. And in the next episode, we will continue this series. There are ego, self-projected, mental, and lunar authorities left in this series through all 12 moon signs. And these are all the more rarer authority types. And if that's you, we're going to make sure that everyone has what they need. And as always, if this resonated, please share it out with someone who needs to hear it. And the more we can support each other in trusting our own inner authority, the less we give our power away to people and systems that don't know what's actually correct for us. So, thank you, and remember to find beauty every day and seek the magic in the Monday.